Billionaire woman fakes poverty to test family. But what happens next will shock you. In the heart of Manhattan, a bustling city of opulence, where the air vibrated with ambition, the story of Eleanor Rothschild broke like a thunderclap. A billionaire by inheritance, she basked in the glow of wealth but felt hollow inside. Rumors swirled like dark clouds that she was concocting a scheme so outrageous that even the sharpest tabloids would raise an eyebrow. Eleanor planned to plunge herself into poverty, stripping away her designer labels like a snake shedding its skin, to test the love of her family. This idea was wild enough to catch fire. A woman so affluent willingly throwing her perfect world into chaos. Would her family still care for her when she was no longer the golden child, but a bleeding heart in need? The mere thought chilled the bones. Eleanor took to the street wearing a tattered coat, her hair tangled and filthy, and old sneakers that had seen better days. It was a different vibe, one that unleashed whispers from passerby's lips. Is that really her? The Rothschild? Onlookers stared, some with pity, others with disdain, as she stood on the corner of Fifth Avenue, watching people hustle about their lives. Each car that zoomed past felt like a reminder of her life that now seemed distant and foreign. But there was something even stranger. As she huddled down beside a makeshift cardboard sign stating "Hungry, please help," the air around her crackled with intensity. It wasn't just her appearance that raised eyebrows. It was the sudden surge of chaotic events swirling around her. A pigeon wearing a vibrant red scarf alighted on her shoulder, as if it sensed her desperation. A child dropped his ice cream cone nearby, sending its creamy goodness splattering onto the pavement in a perfect arc. And just then, a woman stumbled past, her hands shivering and her eyes wide with panic, claiming that something sinister was lurking in the shadows. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the sun dipped below the skyscrapers, Eleanor's heart thudded in her chest, a rabbit caught in the glare of a predator's gaze. She felt vulnerable, raw, yet invigorated, testing her family, yes, but also her own limits. New York was alive with a pulse, an eerie excitement coursing through the streets. Voices echoed as she heard gasps and exclamations about a sudden storm brewing over Central Park. Yet the winds were not the only unsettling factor. The thrill of her gamble began to consume her. As night fell, shadows danced with secrets, and the chill of unknown dangers whispered through the alleyways. Would her test reveal love, or fracture her family forever? The stakes were high, and Eleanor couldn't shake the feeling that she was teetering on the edge of a revelation that could change everything. What awaited her in the dark as the first drop of rain fell? The rain began as a soft drizzle, but it quickly turned into a chilling downpour. Eleanor winced as droplets splattered against her skin, her heart racing. Where were the sheltering arms of her family when she needed them the most? They had always been her fortress, bastions of love and support. Now, she was a ghost haunting the edges of her own life. She pressed her back against the cold concrete wall, panic clutched at her chest. A group of teenagers strolled by, laughing and pushing each other, oblivious to the show of desperation unfolding before them. Eleanor felt invisible, like a phantom in a world that had moved on without her. Her ragged coat turned heavier with rain, and every shiver shot through her senses. She had thought this experiment, this reckoning, would bring her clarity, but darkness enveloped her instead. Suddenly, a shadow loomed over her. Eleanor looked up to see a tall figure, a tall man with sharp features, his eyes narrowing as they met hers. Her breath caught in her throat. "What are you doing out here?" he barked, before she could respond. He dropped a crumpled 20 bill into her lap. "Get yourself something to eat. This isn't a place for someone like you." There was a mix of contempt and concern in his voice. He turned and walked away, disappearing like a candle blown out in the storm. Eleanor stared at the bill, a wave of resentment flooding through her. Something twisted inside her. She didn't want pity. This was her choice, her test. Yet, as she clenched the money in her hand, it felt heavy with guilt. It was one thing to seek solace and wisdom. It was another to be reduced to an object of charity. Was she to descend further into this charade, or could she reclaim some semblance of herself? The rain picked up as she noticed ominous shapes crossing the street ahead. People moved quickly, darting into the nearest cafes or shops, unbothered by her presence. A light flickered in the distance, and she caught a glimpse of a man slumped against a lamppost, eyes glazed over, clearly in distress. She hesitated, an inner struggle brewing. Should she reach out to help him? It felt like the right thing to do, human connection in this vast city of isolation. But as she rose to her feet, a sharp pain shot through her knee. The ground was slick beneath her feet, and she stumbled forward, catching herself just in time to avoid a fall. And then she heard it. A whispered voice, low and sinister, slithered through the chaos of the rain. "You shouldn't be here." Eleanor, her pulse quickened, dread pooling in her stomach. The voice was hauntingly familiar, echoing with a chilling certainty. Had someone followed her? Who would know her out here? Panic coursed through her veins as she scanned the vicinity, her thoughts racing. Then, lightning cleaved the sky, illuminating a figure across the street. A woman shrouded in shadows, watching her with cold, calculating eyes. Eleanor's breath hitched. Something about her felt ominous, like the retribution of someone dispossessed. Just then, the rain intensified, the sound roaring like 1,000 drums. Eleanor's heart pounded. The woman seemed to smile, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was something darker, something that flickered with malice. Was this a part of her test? Or had she unwittingly opened a door to something she wasn't prepared to face? The rain continued to fall, but the real tempest brewing was within her. Eleanor took a shaky step back, torn between the urge to confront the mysterious figure and the desire to retreat. But retreating felt like conceding defeat. What decisions would she make next in this game of shadows, and would she uncover the truth about her family, or just the darkness lurking within herself? As the neon lights around her flickered and danced, she felt the pulse of danger closing in. The rain hammered down as Eleanor's heart raced with uncertainty. The figure across the street only seemed to draw closer with each pulse of thunder, shadows clinging to her like a shroud. "Eleanor," the voice whispered again, clearer this time, echoing in her mind. She couldn't shake off the feeling that it was beckoning her. She looked at the woman, her face half hidden beneath a drenched hood. There was an eerie familiarity to her that unnerved Eleanor. Had she seen her before? The memory slipped through her fingers like water. "Get it together, Eleanor," she whispered to herself, steadying her breath. She had come too far to turn back now. This was part of her journey, wasn't it? To strip away the layers and confront her fears. The storm might be raging outside, but the storm within her was far more chaotic. With a deep breath, Eleanor stepped out from her shelter, each footfall sending jolts of pain through her knee. The woman watched intently, her smile widening as Eleanor approached. "You shouldn't have come here," she said sweetly, the rain glistening in her eyes like shards of glass. "What were you hoping to find in this desolate place?" The question struck deep. Eleanor hesitated, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Was she searching for redemption? For understanding? The need for connection hadn't felt so pressing before. It was as if the rain had stripped her of all defenses. "I wanted to understand," Eleanor stammered. "To see life like those who've lost everything. To face my fears." The woman tilted her head, an almost amused glimmer in her eyes. "And have you found clarity in the chaos, dear Eleanor? Or just more shadows?" She stepped forward, the light catching her face for the first time, revealing sharp features etched with years of despair. Eleanor's chest tightened. "Who are you?" she demanded, the urgency in her voice cutting through the din of the rain. "What do you know about me?" The woman laughed, a chilling sound that made Eleanor shiver. "More than you could possibly imagine." You think you understand loss, yet you stand here, drenched and helpless. You think you're probing the corners of your heart, but you've barely scratched the surface. It's easy to pretend. I senti it? Eleanor felt her defenses crack. She wanted to shout, to scream out her intentions and fears, but all that came out was a strangled whisper. I didn't want pity. With a swift movement, the woman reached into her coat and pulled out a small, tattered photograph. No, darling, you crave acknowledgement. You want to be seen. She held it closer. Look closely. Eleanor took the photograph, her breath catching as she recognized the faces staring back at her. It was a family gathering, her family. They were all there, smiling, vibrant, and full of life. But something lurked beneath the surface of the image. She could feel it, a deep sadness that transcended the smiley faces. What is this? Eleanor gasped, her fingers trembling. It's the last time they were really happy. Before secrets were buried and truths were twisted. The woman stepped even closer, her face now mere inches from Eleanor's. You're unraveling the wrong threads, dear. Are you ready for the truth? The raindrops danced around them, each droplet charged with electricity. Eleanor's heart thudded painfully in her chest as she realized the implications. Did she truly want to unearth what lay hidden? The shadows she faced tonight could lead her to answers or perhaps something much darker. Before you decide, the woman said softly, ask yourself, is the truth worth the price? Eleanor's mind reeled. What was she willing to sacrifice for clarity? The ominous weight of the photograph filled her with unease. She had stepped into the storm on a quest, but could she face the tempest within it? Just then, a vivid flash of lightning illuminated the scene, a moment of clarity in the chaos. The woman's piercing gaze locked onto Eleanor. What truth awaited her? Would she find her family's hidden darkness? Or would it swallow her whole? As the thunder rolled overhead, Eleanor's decisions lay heavy on her shoulders. The clock was ticking. What revelation would drown her in despair, or maybe liberate her? Eleanor's breath hitched as the woman's penetrating gaze bore into her soul. There was something hypnotic about the way she looked at her, as if peeling back the layers of Eleanor's carefully constructed facade. Rain dripped from the woman's hood like tears from the sky, serving only to deepen the sense of dread that swirled in the air. Are you truly prepared, Eleanor? The woman's voice was velvet, smooth yet laced with an edge of malice. Because once you step into the truth, there's no turning back. The air shifted around Eleanor, charged with a sense of finality. She was a moth drawn to the flame, a part of her screaming to retreat, yet another part yearned to know. Peering at the photograph again, she caught a glimpse of her mother, the corners of her smile depicted an innocence that felt dangerously distant. What happened to us? She breathed, more to herself than to the woman. The rain pounded the pavement fiercely, an ominous backdrop to the turmoil raging within her. Your family learned that happiness often carries a price, the woman said, her voice threading through the roaring storm. They traded joy for secrets, comfort for chaos. Eleanor shook her head, unconsciously stepping back. Don't you dare talk about my family. You don't know anything. Her heart raced not just with fear, but with a growing rage. That rage ignited a fire within, pushing her to confront the darkness lurking in her own past. Do I not? The woman's smile widened, almost knowing. Perhaps it's time you face your part in all this. After all, you wore your own mask quite well. She gestured around. All this time, haven't you slipped into your own charade? Enough! Eleanor snapped, fury coursing through her veins. I came here to understand, not to be judged by a ghost. Ghosts are often the most honest of us all. The woman whispered, her features shifting, momentarily revealing a hint of sorrow. The ones who linger, the ones who watched everything unfold and never got to speak their truth. Eleanor faltered. Behind the anger, buried somewhere deep, lay a flicker of understanding. Maybe the woman was right. Her quest for answers had been muddled with the weight of denial. She had avoided the pain, hoping that ignorance would shelter her from grief. But hadn't it only prolonged her suffering? It's not too late, the woman pressed gently, almost coaxingly. The storm raged on, a tempest of emotions far more terrifying than any weather. You can peel back the layers. But to do so, you must reach into the depths of your reality. Deep within, Eleanor felt that familiar flicker of fear, the fear of uncovering the truth that could shatter everything she held dear. "What do you know about me?" she countered, trying to retake control. "Who are you, really?" "Who I am isn't the key," the woman replied, her voice dropping to a low, thrilling whisper. "It's about who you can become. I am simply the vessel for your awakening." As she processed the woman's words, a pounding on the ground caught Eleanor's attention. She turned, startled to see a dark silhouette emerge from the haze of rain. Heart racing, she squinted through the downpour, but the figure remained shrouded in darkness. "Eleanor," the voice cried, breaking through the storm, electrifying the atmosphere. It was a voice she recognized, one that could ground her or send her spiraling further into chaos. The woman watched with an unsettling grin, her eyes glinting with a wretched delight. "Decisions, dear Eleanor. Will you embrace clarity tonight? Or will you hide back in the safety net of the known? Life is about to get very interesting." Eleanor's heart thundered as she stood frozen, torn between the encroaching truth and the identity she had crafted to shield herself. "What do I do?" she whispered, desperation creeping into her tone. The rain fell heavier still, drowning Eleanor in its relentless pursuit. The figure stepped forward again, calling her name. As the shadows danced around her, she felt the weight of the photograph tugging at her heart, a tangible reminder of all that was unresolved. The choice loomed before her, a precipice between the safety of ignorance and the risk of awakening. What path would she choose? The figure was getting closer, and each wet footfall was a drumbeat of a decision yet to be made. Would she stand her ground and delve into the sinister depths of her family's history, or retreat back into the comfort of denial? With a final glance at the woman, Eleanor felt the storm within her reach a boiling point, ready to spill over into chaos. "Eleanor," the call rang through the night, echoing against the furious rain. What awaited her on the other side of the truth? Would that figure help her find her way, or would it plunge her deeper into despair? In that moment, Eleanor knew that whether she embraced the storm or turned away could change everything. The silhouette stepped closer, and Eleanor's heartbeat quickened a feral rhythm she could feel thrumming through her chest. "Eleanor," the voice cut through the wind like a knife, familiar and desperate. Panic bloomed. It was Jacob, her brother. In that moment, the storm couldn't drown out her turbulent thoughts, the weight of their shared childhood pressing down like lead. "Eleanor, where are you?" His accent dripped with concern, the kind that wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but this time, she felt the fraying edges. She was lost, teetering between clarity and chaos, the words from the woman ringing in her ears. The truth felt like a noose tightening each second she hesitated. She turned sharply back to the woman, who crossed her arms and tilted her head, studying Eleanor like a specimen. "The truth isn't easy to swallow, dear. Remember, you're not just buried in your family's past. You're part of it. Facing it is the only way to rise." "Shut up," Eleanor shouted, feeling the anger bubbling back up like a geyser. But inside, doubt flickered, whispering that maybe she couldn't shut it all out any longer. "Eleanor, answer me." Jacob's voice cracked like thunder against the storm. It was a beacon calling her home to safety. But what home was there when the floor felt slick beneath her with the weight of lies? "Jacob," she cried back, panic squeezing her throat. It felt surreal, half existing in this drenching storm while he stood on the precipice of her chaotic mind. The woman smiled knowingly. "He can't save you from this, love. No one can." Eleanor blinked hard against the rain, her brother's outline sharpening through the chaos. His determination radiated like a lighthouse in the fog, urging her closer. What if he finds out the truth? A statement more than a question. The burden of her family's secrets pushed against her ribs. What would he think of her? Of all the pain buried in their history? The woman leaned closer, her breath cold against Eleanor's cheek. "Test the waters, dear. You might find the truth is not as bitter as you fear." But fear ruled her. The threads binding her were knotted tight with lies, guilt, and memories she had locked away. What horror awaited her? A pit of despair? A fractured relationship? Stress consumed her thoughts as the rain pelted harder, echoing her internal turmoil. "Come on," Jacob shouted again, and the urgency in his voice snapped her back. The woman chuckled softly, as if amused by the very notion that one could hide from truth. "Make your choice, Eleanor. You can hide and continue the masquerade, or you can face the rabbit hole and see just how deep it goes." Eleanor felt her resolve wavering. Should she take the leap into the abyss, or cling to the shreds of familiarity that felt like a cage? She could hear Jacob's silent promise amid the howling storm. She didn't want to hurt him. She didn't want him to bear the weight of their family's dark legacy alone. With a final look at the woman's eyes stormy, a question hidden within that smile, Eleanor stepped back from the edge of her own emotional precipice. "No," she shouted, shocking herself. "I won't let fear dictate my life any longer." The woman's expression changed, revealing a flicker of surprise. Eleanor pivoted toward her brother's voice, feeling like she'd just pulled back a curtain to a long-forgotten room. "Jacob," she yelled, her tone urgent now. "I'm here." The darkness pushed against her, but a light bloomed within her, a small spark of courage amid the storm. The woman watched silently, her smile now a tight line, hinting at the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "Then step into the light, Eleanor," she whispered, her tone a mix of challenge and seduction. "But know this, the truth will come at a price." Clutching the photograph, Eleanor chose her path. As she raced to the figure, a sense of inevitability struck her. What would she uncover? Was the truth worth the price she might have to pay? And with that question echoing in her mind, she plunged forward into the dark, unknowing of what awaited her on the other side. Was this a step toward liberation, or were chains about to close around her again? The storm raged around Eleanor, each drop striking like a hammer against stone. She ran towards Jacob, her heart pounding, breath coming in ragged gasps. His silhouette loomed larger, a beacon amid the furious chaos. But as she approached, doubt gnawed at her. What would he think? "Eleanor." His voice was a mix of relief and confusion. His arms stretched towards her, ready to pull her from the abyss she had wandered into. But could she reach him? The woman's words echoed in her mind, twisted and dark. "The truth will come at a price. Please, just don't stop," she yelled, pushing through the storm, battling against the memories that threatened to drag her back. Each step toward Jacob felt like stepping on glass, sharp, painful, and potential disaster lurking beneath her feet. "Eleanor." He crouched low, worry etched deeply into his features. She slid to his side, the heat of his presence momentarily dissolving her chill. But the warmth felt fleeting. She began, but the words tangled in her throat, caught between fear and the truth she needed to confront. The woman stood behind her, a dark specter in the rain, her eyes glinting with knowledge that made Eleanor's skin crawl. "Are you all right?" Jacob's fingers grazed her arm, an electric current jolting through her at the touch. "You look different." Different? The laugh that bubbled from her sounded manic to her own ears. "How do you even define different when everything's spiraling out of control?" "Calm down, Eleanor," he urged, eyeing her with concern. "What happened back there?" She hesitated, tears mingling with the rain. The weight of the past pressed like a mountain on her chest. "There's so much you don't know. So much I haven't told you, then tell me." His voice cracked with desperation. "Please don't push me away now." The woman's words crowded in her mind. Face the rabbit hole. What would Jacob think of the truth that their family history was steeped in secrets and unspoken horrors? "What if I ruin everything?" she whispered, panic rising in waves. "Nothing can be fixed if you don't try." Jacob's steady gaze held hers, grounding her, urging her on. "We'll handle it together like we always have." Eleanor took a breath, summoning the courage that flickered within her, igniting like kindling. "You deserve to know about Mom and Dad. About why we've never really felt whole." The woman behind her stepped closer, shadows dancing across her features. "Tell him, or you will always remain in this storm. What choice will you make?" Tears spilled freely, and she could barely breathe. When we were kids, there were things we didn't understand. Things that haunted our family. Dark secrets that twisted everything. What are you saying? Jacob's face hardened. Confusion replaced by dread. They were involved in Eleanor faltered. The storm roared angrily around them, as if nature itself resented her decision to reveal the truth. Eleanor, just say it. Jacob pleaded, breath hitching. Instead, the woman interjected, her voice smooth and sinister. Don't hesitate, dear. Every second you wait only deepens the wounds beneath the surface. A crack of lightning illuminated the sky, casting a brief flash of clarity into Eleanor's mind. In that moment, she saw the path stretched before her, one of honesty, courage, and inevitable pain. Fine, she breathed, spirit quaking. You want to know? Mom and Dad were never who we thought they were. They were thieves, liars connected to crimes far beyond our understanding. Jacob recoiled as if she'd struck him, the weight of her words sinking in. The howling storm faded into silence, every lingering drop turning into a heartbeat of its own. Eleanor, no. You can't be serious. His eyes widened, shadowed by disbelief and something darker hovering behind it. I am serious. The truth will come at a price. It's now or never. The tension hung thick, pulsing in the air as the storm swirled around them. What price? Jacob asked, his voice barely a whisper. And as the answer loomed between them, a tremor ran through Eleanor. She felt the ground shift beneath her, and suddenly, the stakes had transformed into the unthinkable. Was their bond strong enough to withstand the truth she had just unleashed? The woman smirked, knowing the real battle was only beginning. The silence felt like a shroud over them, heavy and suffocating. Eleanor watched Jacob's jaw tighten, his mind working feverishly to process the avalanche of emotions she had unleashed. The specter behind her loomed larger in her peripheral vision, a reminder that there were forces at play far beyond their understanding. Crimes? He repeated, almost to himself. What crimes? What did they do? Eleanor felt an ache sharpen in her chest. The air was heavy with the weight of the unknown. It's linked to something bigger, Jacob, something that could destroy us. A violent gust of wind whipped around them, almost mocking the gravity of her words. Yet the storm outside felt like a mere whisper compared to the storm brewing between them. She had opened the floodgates, and the water poured through. What do you mean, destroy us? Jacob's tone switched, his voice clipped with urgency. Eleanor, what aren't you telling me? She swallowed hard, feeling each beat of her heart pulsate painfully against her chest. They were involved in fraud, Jacob. Stolen identities, conning people out of their life savings. They were con artists. The anguish in Jacob's features twisted like a knife in her gut. She noticed his hands clenching tightly into fists, a ball of tension rolling within him. But why? How could they after everything? Her mind raced. It was all to cover up their true motives, to build a life in a world where they didn't belong. A world we thought was safe. Jacob shook his head, as if trying to deny her reality. The storm crackled again, a slice of lightning illuminating their strained faces. You should have told me sooner. We could have done something. Do what? Eleanor cried out, desperation edging her voice. You think we could have stopped this? They were in too deep. Finding the truth now, it feels like stepping into a trap. A deep silence enveloped them. The woman behind Eleanor stepped closer, her gaze gleaming with a peculiar satisfaction. Only the truth can set you free, my dear, she whispered, tauntingly serene, each word stirring the anxiety within Eleanor. No, Jacob said sharply, cutting through the tension. No, this can't be true. I refuse to believe my parents were capable of that. Be careful, Eleanor warned, panic gripping her heart. It's not just about them anymore. We're in danger, Jacob. We could be targeted because of what they did. That realization hung like a bomb dropped in the still space between them. Jacob's eyes darkened, shadows pooling there. You mean there are people still looking for them? A heavy lump formed in Eleanor's throat, blocking the words that needed to spill out. She nodded slowly, her heart racing as if echoing the deluge of incoming memories. And by extension, looking for us. The storm surged again, winds shrieking like tortured souls outside as if heralding the chaos she opened. With each gust, Eleanor felt herself teetering on the edge of a precipice, forced to confront the reality she had tried to suppress for so long. Then what are we supposed to do? Jacob's voice was low, tremors of fear threading through it. We can't just ignore this. No, she whispered, stepping closer. I won't let them destroy us. Whatever it takes, we need to find a way to protect ourselves even if it means facing the truth head-on. His eyes met hers, a flicker of resolve sparking between them. Then let us face it, Eleanor. Together. But as the rain poured harder, a foreboding chill swept through her. Was facing the truth really the way out? Or were they stepping directly into the snare set by those who had wronged them? The woman's laughter danced through the wind, sharp and mocking. A promise of vengeance lingered in the air. You can run, but the past always catches up. Eleanor's breath hitched as realization dawned, an icy grip clenching at her heart. What if the enemies aren't just outside? What if they're closer than we think? And as uncertainty settled in the pit of her stomach, the ground beneath them quaked once more, a dark omen of the chaos yet to unfold. Stay close, Jacob murmured, gripping her hand tightly, as if trying to anchor them both against the surge of fate. But as the night roared on and shadows danced in the corners of their minds, it became clear. Some secrets had teeth, and the real threat may rise from the very trust they had built. The storm was far from over. Eleanor felt the heat from Jacob's grip as they stood amidst the raging storm. A storm that felt less like a natural phenomenon and more like an echo of their turmoil. The woman behind them pressed forward, her presence sharpening the air like the crack of thunder outside. Are we really going to confront this together? You have to know what you're getting into, Eleanor urged, her voice barely rising above the wind's howl. Confront it or bury ourselves in ignorance. I'd choose confrontation every time, Jacob shot back, determination burning in his eyes. But even as he spoke, uncertainty clung to him like the cold rain soaking their clothes. Lightning illuminated the oppressive darkness, revealing brief glimpses of their surroundings, an abandoned alley pooling with water, crumbling buildings with shattered windows staring down like empty eyes. It felt as if the world itself was conspiring against them, a reminder that danger loomed close. They needed a plan. Let us get inside somewhere, she suggested, scanning for sanctuary as panic rippled through her. We can think clearer without the storm and without her. But the figure behind her remained a constant shadow, lingering with an almost predatory grace. Your parents' past is infamous, my dears, the woman cooed softly, leaning into the gust of the wind as if it were a friendly breeze. And such infamy always attracts attention. Clenching her jaw, Eleanor could only pray that Jacob hadn't heard the deeper implications. The thought of being hunted gnawed at her, the fear of the unknown welling up like a tidal wave ready to crash. She took a step back, creating distance from the ominous figure. Let us go to my house, there are too many eyes watching us out here, Jacob insisted. Eleanor hesitated. Jacob, you have no idea what they could do. He met her gaze, the intensity of his blue eyes fierce and unwavering. No, but we have to do something before it's too late. We're more than just their collateral damage. The words settled between them, solid and heavy. And with that, they turned away from the storm and the woman. As they started towards Jacob's house, Eleanor couldn't shake off the sensation of being followed. She kept glancing back, expecting to see the woman's twisted smile lurking behind them, but was met only with silence and shadows. Once inside, they were welcomed by a dimly lit corridor echoing the anxiety that enveloped them. The house felt too empty, too still. She could see Jacob's breath quickening as he slipped into his mind, strategizing. Where do we even start? He said, pacing frantically. If anyone knows the truth about what they did, we have to find them before they find us. Eleanor's heart hammered in her chest. What if it's too late? What if they already know? He stopped in his tracks, their eyes locking, fear rippling through the space between them. We can't give in to fear. We were raised to face the music, not run from it. But that sentiment barely eased the knot forming in Eleanor's stomach. She felt unwelcome chains in the very foundation of their home, each step and breath happening under the heavy weight of their parents' legacy. Jacob, she ventured, her voice softer, trembling. What if the real danger isn't just out there? In that moment, realization lit up Jacob's face. You're thinking someone inside. The implication lingered too long, the air thickening in the wake of their shared panic. They both knew how close they were to the truth, and it terrified them. Beneath their uncertainty lay layers of betrayal, waiting to unfold. The very walls felt like they had ears, and Eleanor suddenly wished they could rip away the secrets hiding among the shadows. What if it's one of us? She said, barely above a whisper. Jacob's expression hardened, and the tension between them became palpable, a mix of fear and disbelief. Then the lights flickered ominously, followed by a sudden crash from the other side of the house, shattering the fragile silence. Stay here, Jacob shouted, rushing toward the sound, his adrenaline coursing through him. Jacob, wait! Eleanor's heart raced, but he was already gone, leaving her alone to confront the echoes of her own fears. Suddenly, the depth of her vulnerability felt suffocating. Would she have to uncover the truth herself, knowing that whatever awaited them could shatter their world forever? And as she moved toward the sound of chaos, inching further into uncertainty, a chilling thought struck her. What if Jacob wasn't safe after all? What if the biggest betrayal lay not in the hands of the enemies, but in the heart of the one she loved most? As shadows deepened around her, Eleanor braced herself. The night was alive with whispers, and the storm was just the beginning. Eleanor stood frozen, the echo of Jacob's footsteps fading into the distance. The silence wrapped around her like a thick fog, palpable and suffocating. Her heart was pounding, each beat a warning that echoed in the hollow spaces of the house. She couldn't just stand here. What if he needed her? No, she needed to know what was happening. Drawing a shaky breath, she edged down the hallway, her instincts screaming at her to turn back. Each step creaked underfoot, slivers of sound that seemed to amplify her anxiety. The familiar walls were now foreign, shadows morphing like whispers of danger around every corner. Jacob, she breathed, but her voice was swallowed by the oppressive stillness. What if the darkness between them had grown too wide? What if he couldn't hear her over the chaos? Another crash shattered her thoughts. It rumbled from the next room, a heavy thud against the walls, furniture scattering like leaves in a storm. Eleanor's gut clenched. Fear washed over her, leaving a bitter taste on her tongue. Jacob, she called again, louder now, injecting desperation into her voice. She pressed on, guided only by the growing dread tightening in her chest. When she reached the door to the living room, it stood ajar. The flickering lights created a strobe effect, casting unsettling shadows that danced across the walls. Heart racing, she pushed the door open with trembling fingers. What she saw made her gasp. Jacob was crouched over a figure in the corner, the details obscured by flashes of light. Fear and fury twisted his face, and in his grip was not a hostile intruder, but someone she recognized. Let her go, Jacob shouted, his voice trembling with rage and fear. Eleanor stepped into the room, her eyes widening as they landed on the woman before him. It was their neighbor, Mrs. Avery, the seemingly sweet old lady who often slipped cookies into their hands. Now, she was pinned against the wall, fear in her eyes, struggling to break free from Jacob's grasp. Jacob, stop! Eleanor shouted, rushing forward. She recoiled as Jacob's eyes flickered to her, stormy and conflicted. Eleanor, she knows something, he barked, eyes still locked on Mrs. Avery. She has to. What could she possibly know? Eleanor shot back, disbelief wrapping around her words. She's not just anything. He interrupted, his voice ragged. Her son was involved. He was one of them. A rush of nauseating realization flooded her system. The reason Jacob had hinted at secrets in town, the rumors of corrupt dealings, of dark pasts. They had been so caught up in themselves. They hadn't considered the web of lies surrounding them. I didn't want this, Mrs. Avery cried, her voice cracking. I just wanted to protect him. They're playing both sides. And they're watching you. They know what you are. What I am. Jacob's voice dropped low, tense as an arrow ready to fly. What do you mean? Eleanor's mind raced, piecing the fragments together. This was bigger than them. The storm outside was merely a backdrop for the real tempest swirling inside. Suddenly, the lights flickered off completely, plunging the room into darkness. Eleanor felt a rush of cold air slither past her, chilling her to the bone. Panic surged through her. Jacob! She screamed, reaching out into the void, desperate for his presence. A moment later, the lights sprang back on, illuminating chaos. Jacob was gone. Mrs. Avery was peeling herself off the wall, her eyes wide and terrified. Where did he go? Eleanor demanded, searching frantically, dread morphing into despair. I don't know, Mrs. Avery whispered. They're coming for him, you have to hide. Eleanor's breath hitched, her heart racing. Who were they? And why was Jacob in danger? As a heavy thud echoed from outside, panic gripped her tighter. Eleanor felt the walls press in, the tension thick enough to slice. She had a feeling Jacob wasn't just in danger, he was in full retreat. Was it all too late? With urgency fueling her, Eleanor made a decision. She wasn't going to hide. She had to find Jacob and uncover the truth that lay hidden in the shadows. But, would the truth set them free, or would it pave the way to their doom? As the wind howled outside, Eleanor's determination steadied. There was no backing down now. Would she dare confront both the storm and whatever waited for her in the dark? Eleanor's heart raced as she bolted from the living room, her mind spinning like a whirlwind. In the chaos of the moment, she had lost Jacob, her brother, her anchor. Each footfall echoed in her ears, urgency propelling her forward. She needed to find him, she wouldn't let fear or darkness swallow him. Jacob! She called, her voice strained and echoing against the walls. She didn't bother to wait for a response. She sprinted through the house, determination burning inside her like a wildfire. The air thickened, charged with trepidation. The storm outside mirrored the tempest within, one chaotic, raw, and tumultuous. Eleanor needed answers now. She raced back through the hallway, pausing by the front door. The world beyond was drenched in rain, a torrent that obscured everything in sight. Would Jacob venture into the storm? She pushed the door open, the wind whipping against her face, the icy droplets slicing through her skin. Jacob! She bellowed, desperation choking her. There was no sign of him, just shadows stretching across the street, illuminated by sporadic bursts of lightning. The woman, Mrs. Avery, had said they were coming for him. That meant there were threats lurking in the shadows, enemies drawn into their lives by the secrets tied to their parents' past. Each thought felt like a stone settling in her stomach. She couldn't allow that to happen. She wouldn't lose him to the darkness. Eleanor stepped onto the wet pavement, every nerve ending alive with fear. As she squinted into the darkness, sudden movement in the periphery grabbed her attention. A figure? Could it be him? Jacob! She shouted, hope surging within her as she ran. But the figure turned, revealing itself as a burly man, clearly not a friendly face. You best turn back, little lady, he growled, a sinister glint in his eyes. Get away from me. Her voice was fierce, but the shivers creeping through her body betrayed her fear. As she sidestepped him, determination hardened her resolve. She had to keep moving to find Jacob. Ignoring the threats pivoting around her, she ran deeper into the storm. The rain lashed at her, but she pressed on, thoughts racing. Every thud of her heart screamed for Jacob. The world felt larger and more hostile than ever, but she had a fierce belief simmering just beneath the surface. She'd uncover the truth, unravel the threads of betrayal that wormed their way through her family, and shield Jacob from whatever dangers awaited. Suddenly, she heard his voice. Eleanor, this way. Relief flooded through her, turning her to the source. There he was, standing at the entrance to an alleyway. Run! The urging yank of his voice propelled her forward, and she dashed into the alley. Lightning flashed overhead as she crashed against the wall beside him, the shadows clinging to them like dark tendrils. They gasped for breath, their eyes locking in silent understanding. This was a turning point. They had to face the darkness together. What happened? Eleanor panted, glancing around, still reeling from the chaos. Mrs. Avery Essity, just an innocent old lady. Jacob hissed, urgency in his tone. I overheard her talking to someone. She was involved. They know everything. If they find us, we have to expose them. Eleanor cut in sharply, her voice unwavering. We can't let the truth destroy us anymore. We have a chance. His eyes sparked with determination, a mirrored reflection of her own. What do you suggest we do? We can't just walk into the storm. Eleanor thought long and hard. I know Mom and Dad still have connections, she murmured, glancing at the now heavily drenched street beyond. Maybe we can find whoever they owe. If we confront them first, maybe we can build trust before the storm breaks. As apprehension danced in Jacob's gaze, Eleanor sought to bolster him with unyielding conviction. They needed to act fast. I'm going to contact someone. Get information. They may still care about what's left of us. We can't spiral into secrecy anymore. Jacob hesitated, then nodded solemnly. Together, then, we'll get to the truth. Eleanor was flooded with a sense of purpose. The storm outside raged on, but as they dashed deeper into the shelter of the alley, a flicker of hope ignited within her. This was their moment of transparency, a chance to build their path back into the light. Breath caught in her throat, she turned to Jacob, their bond palpable, their fears at bay. They would navigate this storm together. As they disappeared into the shadows, a new chapter was beginning. Their fight against the darkness was only just starting, and together, they would emerge stronger. The weight of their family legacy no longer felt like chains. It was an uncharted territory awaiting exploration. They would uncover the secrets, face the threats, and rewrite their story, stepping away from the shadows one brave step at a time. And as they ventured forth, Eleanor spoke softly into the rain-soaked night. We will not become the victims of our past. No longer. Eleanor and Jacob stepped boldly into the heart of the storm, sensing that the path they chose today could rip the air of despair and weave it anew into hope. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who desperately need to see this ending. Your support is more crucial than ever.